So it's been an incredible past few years, but also a bit of an announcement here. It is
Come on, let's go! Welcome to Circles Off, episode number 186, right here, part of the Hammer Betting Network, and presented by Pinnacle Sportsbook. I'm Rob Pizzola, joined in studio by Johnny from Betstamp.
Hey Rob, how's everything going?
It's going. It's holiday season. This is coming out day after Christmas, but we're recording before Christmas. And, there's a lot on the go for me in my personal life right now. I've just moved recently. Plus, I may have procrastinated a little bit on gifts as well.
Tough.
I'm in a tough spot. Been dealing with Uber Eats recently as well. Customer service. This has not been a great couple of days.
Yeah, big win for the Steelers yesterday, huh? Beating the Chiefs.
Here we go.
That was a crazy win. I can't believe they pulled it off.
You remember the last time we did that was conference championships last year. We recorded before we knew the Super Bowl final, right? We recorded it.
Yeah, we did.
And we got the teams right.
We nailed it. We
nailed it. Chiefs and 49ers.
Yeah, we nailed it. I think we nailed Chiefs winning the bowl, if you go back.
I think so too.
I said, you said, who do you have in the bowl? I said, I got the Chiefs winning. And then you said, yeah, Chiefs, no Niners. But yeah, big win for the Steelers yesterday. That was just a crazy play by
Pickens. He's in.
Is he in?
Pickens.
Was he in?
I
didn't notice him. He must not have played much. Najee Harris though. Nice touchdown there. Anyways, yeah, Christmas shopping can be difficult for a variety of reasons. But you know what's not difficult? That's getting down whatever amount you want at the sharpest sportsbook in the world.
Absolutely. You can do that at Pinnacle Sportsbook. They've been in business for the past 25 years for a reason. And honestly, like Johnny said, high posted limits, which is beautiful as a bettor. There's nothing worse than typing in a bet amount, getting referred to trader, it coming back that you only have a smaller percentage of that overall bet. With Pinnacle, you see the limit, you can bet the limit, and it's going into your account. No ifs, ands, or buts. Make sure you check them out, pinnacle.com/hammer. You must be 19 plus, not available in the US. As always, please play responsibly. We're going to do an educational episode here in a minute. And also, stay tuned right to the end of this episode. Some announcements for 2025 that we want to get into. That's coming in right at the very end of this. Before we do, I did mention the Uber Eats stuff on the top. I want you to know. I want your advice on how you would have handled these back-to-back situations.
Oh, I can't wait to hear these.
Back-to-back situations, 2 days in a row. I order with my wife and my brother. Swiss Chalet.
Festive specials.
But the rib and chicken combo.
Okay. Half rack, third rack. What are we talking here?
Half rack of ribs and then quarter chicken and whatever sides we want to get as well. For those who are watching in the US, what's the closest comparable to Swiss Chalet? Applebee's maybe?
No.
I don't think there's a good comp, right?
We have Applebee's here.
Yeah, but there's
not good.
Yeah, I don't know what the comp is.
I can't think of a comp like rotisserie chicken.
It's a rotisserie chicken place.
Yeah, but that just sounds like you just don't have those really, a lot of those.
Right. Well, I ordered this, and with the tip for the driver, it comes to not exactly, I always put it to a certain cent amount, so I know it was me that did it, but it was roughly $100, okay? Food delivery comes, it's tightly packaged like usual, so the ribs are there for me and my brother. I lift up the ribs, they didn't put the chicken underneath. So neither myself or my brother got the chicken as part of the combo.
No quarter chicken.
It was just the ribs with no chicken. I also ordered an insane amount of extra sauce, the chalet sauce, because I love to absolutely dunk my chicken in that sauce. So I'm like a little bit cheesed. I'm like, all right, what am I gonna do? They didn't bring the chicken. Contacted the driver. He's like, I brought everything that's there. I'm like, all right, we just eat the meal. I'm gonna complain in the app afterwards. So I complained in the app. I explained missing items or whatever, missing chicken. These guys gave me a $6 refund on a $100 purchase.
Can't have that.
I was flipping out. Okay, I let it be. I'm like, I'm not going to deal with this customer service now. I don't want. I'm not in the mood. I went back to it. I want to say 4 or 5 days later, And basically, the customer service told me that they could do nothing for me because the complaint wasn't within 48 hours. I'm like, but the complaint was within 48 hours. I've just chosen not to follow up till afterwards. They're like, it's a done deal. I lost it. I'm like, I use Uber Eats all the time. I'm done. I'm switching. Then I tried the alternatives. I was back to Uber Eats within a day. But second experience, I'm in my new house. I forgot I don't have like my coffee machine unpacked or whatever. So I wake up in bed in the morning, I'm like, I gotta get a coffee. You can upsell me really easily. I'm a Uber One guy. I needed $15 for free delivery. So I got a coffee from local place.
Balzac's.
I
knew it.
Yeah, I got a coffee from Balzac. But I added in like some fucking crazy croissant, some cookies to get it to $15. Okay. Package is delivered. I go out, I get the stuff. There's no fucking coffee. They delivered just the croissant and the cookies with no coffee. At that point, I was furious. In absolute orbit, I requested a refund on Uber Eats. They refunded me for less than the amount that the coffee was in and of itself. But on top of that, I didn't get the other items. I only got the other items so that I could just get the coffee for free delivery. I'm fucking done with these apps. Done. Haven't used one since. I'm sure I will in 2025. But what am I supposed to do? Just sit there and take it? Like they definitely think I'm a complainer on file now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, see, this is why, honestly, bro, it's like you can't be complaining over the small stuff. You got to save it for the big stuff and complain on the big ones. If you get no bagel, you got to just take it. You gotta take the hit, a couple bucks, and complain on the big ones and complain and get your full order covered. Like that Swiss Chalet, I would have complained full order. There's no exceptions there. You get that, not getting the chicken is a detriment to your meal.
I wanted the chicken, man.
It's a detriment to the meal.
They wouldn't give you that refund though. If you asked for the full meal, they wouldn't though.
No, but you can't just give me, it's unacceptable. You can't just be getting just let's say they forget, you order like, for example, a burger, fries, and a drink, okay? And they forget the burger.
Oh,
and then
your
they're
meal's
just
ruined. Yeah,
and
I
then
agree with you.
Like you didn't, and then they don't bring the burger. You can't just refund the burger.
But that's what Uber does.
And then they refund the burger, but then the fries and drink were probably more expensive due to the combos. So you're only getting back like $6.
But I want those. I want to hit the burger.
See, like I will complain in app whenever something is wrong, and it's fucked me now. I've known it's no different than like if you get a bet incorrectly graded in your sportsbook account, and you're like, this is a winner. They should grade it a winner. But if I complain now, someone's going to do an account review. You know what I'm saying? And I might be better off just accepting the L on that bet than having someone manually go into the account and start looking at the individual wagers. And I fucked that up years ago. I complained about little things being missing in the meal. It's all coming back to bite.
It's all coming back to bite you. You have too many strikes in your account.
Fuck. That's a tough one.
Tough. I've had a couple bad ones, but at the end of the day, yeah, I don't even complain anymore at this point. It's unless it's a really bad one, I'm just like, I took the L. I think I don't know if I ever mentioned this, but I got the grocery one time because I got a good promo. It was like spend $70, get $40 off. I'm like, oh, okay, sure, I'll get groceries. Ordered the groceries. No message from the guy, nothing. They literally came, brought me the groceries, but like apparently one item was missing. So they didn't even sub it. He just didn't bring that item, which then dipped me below the $70 so that I didn't get the 40. So I didn't get the 40 free. It was
way that
it did me below
I thought you were gonna say like when they sub it without your permission and they bring you something that you absolutely do not want.
Yeah, you're like, how was this the substitute?
Yeah.
No, he just didn't bring that item.
Right.
It dipped it below the 70. I didn't get the $40 off. So I paid like
worse.
I paid like $65 and I was supposed to pay 30.
Mm-hmm. Much worse than I was expecting.
Yeah, but it is
oranges substituted with grapefruits one time. Those are very different fruits. I know that they're similar, that they're citrus, but like if you like oranges, it's not guaranteed you're gonna like a grapefruit.
I'll get to another thing. Here's one for us. I know it should be saved till the end of the show, but I have a plus EV move. It's not even worth it to complain about stuff on bad customer service because it's too much. They probably do it on purpose, but it takes too much time to potentially get a refund on anything that you just got to eat it. It's done. You lost a bet. Take it. Too bad. You get boned on your seat at the airplane. Like just happened to me last week. it happens. It's a quick story. Like I paid for an exit row seat.
Yeah.
I paid for an exit row seat.
Extra legroom. Why not?
$58, nothing major.
Well, 58 US.
58
For us,
US,
it's like 100
58
bucks now.
USD. Well, $1.42 exchange. I think.
Hey, not quite. Like people actually think you're serious.
It's not that bad. It's got to be close to 90 Canadian now.
Okay, whatever. Let's say I just paid $60.
Yeah.
Anyways, I pay $60. It doesn't even matter if it was $20, whatever. I pay it. I got the exit row. I get to the airport. Flight's a bit delayed, so they switched the aircraft. And it didn't dawn on me that they just left me with the same seat. I walk in the aircraft. I no longer have an exit row seat. I had the same number. You guys should have seen my face when I walked right past the exit row and looked at my ticket and saw I didn't have the exit row and they didn't switch it. And yeah, obviously you don't get a refund. And like, what am I going to do? I'm going to call. I'll probably be on the phone for like 30 minutes to an hour to potentially get a refund. EV's not there. It's not. It's done. I took the L.
I just hate having those conversations. I don't want to have to do it. I just don't even want to have that. I don't want to have to pick up the phone, wait.
But you're
going to
call them for a chance to get $50. It's not worth it.
I agree with you.
I think you would have gotten the refund in this case.
But even if I would have got the refund, and it took me 30 minutes,
The time is value.
and it's not even 100% likely to get
From
a
experience with this airline, their hold music is horrific as well.
refund. Yeah, I don't
it
even
would
want to
have
deal
been
with that.
Yeah.
horrifying to listen to it for an hour.
I don't want to deal with that. If you honestly, producer Jacob, if you want to call, this has just happened, you can call, and if I get the refund, I'll give you the full refund.
Maybe not this week because
He doesn't even want to do it.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to.
I wouldn't want to
my
do
Mondays are crazy, man. We
There you
circle
go.
back in the morning. We're here this afternoon.
There you go. So yeah, I'm an early plus EV there.
I hear you. We'll do plus EV, minus EV at the end of the show today and an announcement. As I mentioned, we're going to do an educational episode. Haven't done this in a long time. This is going to be our last Circles Off episode of the year 2024. And one of the most common pieces of feedback we get are people who are looking for some sort of all-encompassing episode about sports betting in some capacity. That's all inclusive of how to find an edge, managing your bankroll, all those things. And we have bits and pieces of that all over this channel, but thought we would create one evergreen episode that people could refer to at any time if they're new to betting, if they are a losing bettor, if they just want to improve their craft, whatever. Me and Johnny are going to go through it, and I don't want to like guarantee profits for people. I'm not that guy. I'm not like the marketer, like, you will win by doing this, but you have a pretty damn good chance to win if you can follow this stuff. And if you can't, then you should realize that you're betting for recreational purposes rather than for the money.
Jacob, you better clickbait this thing. Guaranteed 2025 winning betting strategies in the thumbnail.
And then
Wow. Leg break there? You all right?
No, just chair.
Wow. You almost fell off. No one's ever fell off the chair in the history
New
of this
chair
show
and budget
before.
for 2025.
So we're going to provide some practical and actionable advice for people on how they can improve, especially going into a new year. Everybody sets like their goals for the new year, right? You know how January is always packed at the gym? There's like a million faces that you've never seen there before, and then by February, it's back to the way it was before. Hopefully this lasts longer than just January for you people out there, but this is the stuff that you need to do to succeed. There's no fluff in here. It's just straight to the point, to the fact, to the point. Betting's a skill game, basically, and you require some sort of strategy when you are betting. So let's start with I think the biggest pitfall or mistake that people make, and Johnny, you've mentioned this before, when people say that they're winning at betting, we've done interviews before where people are like, oh yeah, I'm a winning bettor, and you're like, what's your edge? And then you start to see people go through their head and try to explain why they're winning bettors, and we can very quickly tell whether it's real or not. But I think for any bettor who wants to succeed in 2025 or going forwards, you first have to identify where your edge is actually coming from.
I agree. So if you're putting it into like one specific sentence, it's just, if you want to win at betting, you have to identify a specific edge in the market, and that has to be your mentality, every time you place a bet, it has to be for that specific edge or a specific edge. So you're not going to win if, you're just all over the place placing bets on whatever you think or whatever you want, or just like going and just like firing some darts. Every bet you place, you have to be able to somewhat even evaluate and figure out how much that bet is worth. That's one that I think if you can do that, you've conquered probably 95% of the game if you can just do this one thing. You know what I mean?
Yes. So people overestimate personal intuition. And this is the biggest mistake that you have friends that do this. I have friends that do this. Jacob, our producer, used to do this. Not anymore. He's learned now at this point. And he's been updating the board in the background as well.
Yeah.
Which is nice.
I want to make a quick call out here. I did notice earlier in the day that Jacob was watching on his phone darts.
Yeah, I went to lunch with him and he was watching
I literally
darts.
look at him right now and I see he opened his phone to a video. I'm going to assume it's darts. So my question is, who do you have and how much money?
I don't have anybody this one.
No, there's no way.
He follows darts.
There's no way you're watching darts with there's no way you're raw dogging a darts match, no bets.
Yeah.
No way.
I watched the World Championships right now. I watched them all. The time this comes out, the 4th round will start tomorrow.
So you don't have anything right now?
Well, I have none of them are playing, but I do have futures.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
I assume that you knew that, like, how to find your edge in those darts futures, right?
Oh yeah.
You're not overestimating your personal intuition.
No, I waited for so I was watching the draw live and was just quickly going through their road to the final and the players that were lesser ranked. So one half is stacked in this draw. The other half is like a lot easier to get to the final. So I was finding the best matchup, the best road to the finals as it happened. And after that, it steamed in the right direction. So,
all right,
okay. Understood. Very nice.
There you go. There's some very clear logic to you determining the price there. What people often do, and it's very typical in the NFL, but happens in all sports. And I made this fundamental mistake many times in life, but it's because everybody watches the sport and they think that they're going to handicap in their own way, and by just handicapping the games themselves, they're going to have some sort of edge betting into a market. And that's just not the way it works, right? The betting market is bettors against bettors. Yes, you're betting into the sportsbook. Sportsbook's going to move the lines, but they're moving the lines based off of other bets that are coming in. So if I wanted to beat somebody else, if I wanted to win money on NFL major market sides, well, there's ways to do that. One would be betting earlier in the week when less professional money is going in. Second would be to figure out something that the market is not accounting for. That's not going to happen. You're not going to be able to do that nowadays. So to find edges nowadays, I would definitely say get ahead of line moves. I think we can both agree on that. Like if you want to bet major market stuff, there's no sense in waiting until the pros have already shaped the line if you're going to do that, right? Like at that point, you're basically drawing dead as a bettor. I don't care how big of an NBA fan you are, MLB fan, NHL, NFL. If you're going to wait till the very last minute when sports books are taking the largest bets that they've been taking all day or all week, you're not going to win. And that's just the reality of things. I hate to be very blunt, but that's the case. You can specialize in niche markets or smaller markets like props. That's a much better way to go about things than to just fixate on, I want to predict the side and total of all these major market events. You can use the market as your North Star and take like a top-down betting approach, which is probably the easiest way for someone to do it nowadays. Or you can start to build out some sort of model, leverage data and analytics, but understand that it's going to take a long time for you to get to the point that you want to get to. You might want to watch last week's episode with Andrew Mack if you're interested in heading down that path. But these are different ways that you can find an edge. I don't know if there's anything I left out there.
No, just to summarize, I think there's three ways, and they're not necessarily tied to specific sports. So you mentioned major markets. Any market, any sport, any time of the year, there's basically only three ways to get an edge. Number one is, as Rob mentioned, the market. So like taking basically your edge being, hey, this place is better, is a more proven number, and they say it should be this, so I'm going to trust that, and I'm going to get this, which is a contrarian, price to that. Therefore, I have an edge based on that source of truth. That's number one, works with any market. Number two is, as Rob mentioned, basically like making your own numbers. So the way I'd kind of see this is like doing a bunch of data and analytics, building a ground up model, or having something that you do that's not factored in and saying, all right, I can beat the market because of this thing that I have. And then comparing your number to the market number and say, yep, I'm better because of this. That one, honestly, is extremely hard to do. And pretty much no beginner is succeeding at that right now. It does take a lot of time, and there's a lot of room for mistakes. And then the third one, which Rob mentioned, the top down whole thing is the easiest. I think the easiest one is actually this third one, which is just leveraging like news. If you could just be a bit quicker to news, then that's an easy one. That's automatic and like pretty much carefree. So if you have the news that a certain player is going to be out, or if you're just hitting the book before it moves on the news, then pretty much automatically going to have an edge. And over the long run, that automatic edge will compound. You'll be certain to win. So those are the three ways. If you're a true beginner, what I would do is probably start with the news-based stuff, and then slowly kind of combine that in with a little bit of top-down source of truth stuff. And then if you want to start your own origination, maybe in some small markets first, some prop markets first, and then move up to the major stuff if you so get there. But that's the way I'd kind of look at that. Outside of those three things, there's really no proven edges.
Yeah, I would say that some things that people might do is like blindly tail picks from other people. Nowadays, I would say that we're in an age of misinformation where it's pretty easy for someone to convince people that they're a winning bettor when they're not. There are apps out there like Pickett nowadays where let's just say it's pretty easy to mislead other people that are out there in terms of thinking you're a winning bettor. So I would strongly caution against blindly tailing picks, and especially if you're going to blindly tail picks because someone is quote unquote hot on a hot streak over a small sample, because water's going to find its level over time. So when we're talking about finding edges, listen, I'm not here to tell you that you can never find someone who's publicly posting picks that you can tail. You probably can. In fact, there's a few people that I leverage on Betstamp for sports that I don't handicap myself, that I feel very strongly about their ability to win in the long run. They track against sharp sports books, for one. I could tell by the times that they're making their bets that they know what they're doing, things of that nature. But don't get into the habit of just blindly tailing anyone because you see them come across your Twitter timeline or you watch a TikTok video or anything like that. And also, at the end of the day, if you don't have an edge, that's fine. You're gambling for entertainment at that point. It's totally okay, but don't expect long-term success, right? There's nothing that, there's a lot of things that bother me. I was gonna say there's nothing that triggers me more. That's not entirely true. But the people who post and they're very disappointed with themselves when they're on like this losing streak and they're like, I can't overcome this. I'm not seeing the board clearly. They very likely didn't have an edge in the first place.
Winning streak starts today. That's it. I'm sick and tired of this.
I'm done. I'm working an extra hour. I'm setting the alarm tomorrow morning, 5 a.m., bright and early. Going to do whatever it takes to handicap these games. These people don't have an edge, is the reality. And again, if you want to find out if you should be tailing someone or if you think that someone's worthwhile, you can always ask them that question. What is it that you are doing that gives you your edge in market? And if someone's just saying like, well, listen, I cap the games hard, I spend a lot of time on this, I'm sorry.
I watch a lot of NFL.
Yeah, I watch all the games. I know all the players.
Been playing fantasy for 15 years.
Yeah, like that type of stuff is not going to work for you. So figure out what your edge is going to be, and then everything stems from there.
I want to get into one thing. If your edge is one of those three things, I'd say you have a chance of winning. There's a few very minor other things that I'm not worth mentioning of ways that you can win as well. But in general, if you're betting and your edge is not one of those three things, it's going to be extremely difficult to win, which is okay as long as you have the expectation that you're then just betting for recreation, for fun. So the common mistakes, as Rob mentioned, though, would be obviously like blindly tailing picks and stuff like that. But really the most common mistake we hear is people just saying that they follow the sport. It's a sick and twisted trick, but as our friend Plus EV Analytics has in his pinned tweet, which I recently saw, but it is a crazy, crazy, crazy trick when you know the sport, and I do mean this genuinely, you will lose more money than someone who doesn't know the sport. If you don't know how to bet and you just follow the sport, but you're not a bettor, you will highly likely lose more money than someone who's just coin flipping, which sucks, but that's historically been true.
Explain that theory.
I've lived it firsthand, right? I used to do some work with other people who were modeling baseball. We did that as a group, and there was one player who played pretty competitive college baseball who thought he knew the game inside and out, and was kind of like manually overriding a lot of logic because of the way that he saw things from his own particular perspective instead of actually backtesting this stuff. So sometimes it can be a flaw, right?
Yeah.
It's like you know the sport so well that you can often miscount stuff, double count things. There's like a lot of negativity that can
I just bring it up because I've been in the position where I've needed a video like this, so I'm thinking of what somebody would say to
We're not calling you out for your darts expertise if that's what you think is happening.
No,
here.
but basically think of it this way. If you play fantasy football, you're going to look and you're going to say, oh, I know these sports, I know all this stuff, whatever. You're going to literally look and you're going to see that, for example, okay, this is just a random example. You're going to look at the Houston Texans and you're going to say, oh, Diggs is out. Tank Dell is out. Obviously, the Houston Texans are, sure, Collins is in, but they lost their 2 of their 3 top receivers. Like, I'm going to bet the other team because who's Stroud going to throw to? When in reality, that doesn't impact the spread much. So if you were a bettor, you realize that, okay, what happens when a guy's actually ruled out? Does the number move? Does the market respect it? Where does it go? So oftentimes we see people play NFL. When a running back gets ruled out, they'll go rush and bet the other team, thinking it's a good bet, when in reality, they're just wasting money. And usually those people, because they think they have an edge, are not doing the things that it takes to be successful without an edge, meaning like line shopping, market reading, things like that. So I've had, a perfect example would be somebody running to bet the other team when Aaron Jones is out on the Vikings, which does quite literally nothing to the spread when he's out. So these little things, back and forths, they will add up. And when you have the confidence to think that you know the sport, you're going to blindly fire more recklessly, not be careful, and you will lose more money than if you just didn't know the sport at all and said, okay, I don't know the sport, but I might just pick this side today, and I might just pick this side today. Sure, I'll fire these 3 games for fun. You're not going to get aggressive. You're not going to chase losses. You're not going to bet too big on one side, for example. Like, overall, there's a lot of different things that people do, but typically when you have overconfidence and you think you have an edge, but you don't, oftentimes you'll lose a lot more than if you just know you don't have an edge and you're betting for fun.
Completely agree. So the first question you ask yourself when you're going to go bet in 2025 here is, why do you think you're going to win? What is your edge? Period. And if you can answer that, then, and it's not because you're going to work so hard on handicapping the games and anything like that, then you're going to be fine. But you have to figure out why you're going to win. And there's more ways, like Johnny mentioned just outside. Listen, if you're not taking this too seriously, but you still want to win a little bit of money, and your whole thing is you're going to play, odds boosts, and that's all you want to do, but you're going to price shop them against other books and say, this is actually a plus EV odds boost, I'm just going to play those. That is a way you're going to win. Now, you might not be able to scale that, but at least you've identified an actual edge there where you're going to return something, and that is actually a real edge that you can take advantage of. The second question that you're going to ask yourself is, are you betting responsibly, or are you setting yourself up to go?
I do want to say one thing before we get into this, was if you want to say, hey, this is my edge, that's great. But one step further, which I think if you can get to this, you're 95% of the way there, is calculate what that bet is worth. So not only just saying, do I have an edge, like simple yes, no, but saying like, what is my edge? How much is this truly worth? So if you have something at plus 500 and really you think that should be minus 500, well, that's a massive edge.
Yep.
So if you're betting $100 on that, that's worth quite a lot of money, right? It's worth above plus maybe $500, maybe $400, like depending on exactly what you're pricing the true fair value of that is. So when you have an edge, typically that edge is not going to be greater than 10%. Most of the time, it's not going to be greater than 10%. Typically, the best professionals are grinding out in around the range of like 1 to 3% edges and grinding them with a ton of volume. But they know, hey, if I have a 2.4% edge on this bet and I'm betting on this, 6,000, 1,000, 160,000, whatever it is, they quantify that and say, all right, this bet, when I click this button, I will have theoretically made $1,600, or I would have theoretically made $24.26. And they know that amount in turn. So when you do that and you're actually getting close to that calculation, once you start to see and put more volume through and bet more, you can then basically take your theoretical that you calculated, take your actuals, and see how far apart that is. So if you can just calculate what your edge is and what you think it is, and then you start to see that your actuals are coming in close to that edge, you're set. You've done it. You've mastered the part that 95%, maybe even more, will never get to in the age of not just sports betting, but any betting whatsoever.
Yep, agreed. Then it's about setting yourself up not to go broke, basically. So betting responsibly in a way that you don't go broke. It's kind of a sad story. We laughed about it on Circle Back earlier this week, but a member of Gambling Twitter, GRP Wins, played in lost $5,000 in a pot limit Omaha game this week. He was asked about it. He said he had to stop because he lost 10% of his net worth in that day, and that's a rule for him. I'm going to stop when I lose 10%. That was 10% of net worth, not bankroll. Okay, it's a crippling amount of money for any human being to lose, and I don't want to make it a laughing matter. It kind of can be because GRP and like the character that he is, but
he's gonna put in his bio that he was discussed on Circles Off now.
I think he's already has it in his bio that he's been on the Hammer Betting Network. So
okay,
considering we're there, he might put like a 2x next to it at some point or something.
I'm happy about that.
But we have to talk bankroll management basics right now, right? Because by far, it's sports betting is challenging, but it's usually a combo of somebody who doesn't have an edge and a combo of somebody who doesn't know how to bet, right? And there is a lot of stuff that's easier said than done, right? Avoid chasing losses. Well, when you've lost a lot of money on the day and there's one game left to get it back, casual bettor, for them, that can be an opportunity to get it all back in one shot. We've been there. I've been there before. I don't know if Johnny has or not, but people have been there before where you lose a bunch, you try to win it back all at once. But when you're betting, you kind of, especially when you're betting for income or trying to make some revenue off of this, you got to take a look at the long picture. I know it sounds like really cheesy and really easy to do, but if you're actually betting a set percentage of your bankroll based off of your edge, and it becomes almost mathematical for you or formulaic, it's a lot easier to follow that and not deviate than it is if you're just betting, willy-nilly, so to speak.
It's true. We've seen obviously a lot of horror stories, as you mentioned. It's once you've got an edge, which is like, again, you're far along. Now it's about obviously not messing it up and continuing to bet, but there are still just a ton of things that people do even when they have an edge. So I think when we're talking about bankroll management right now, we're going to more gear towards assuming you've already got that edge.
Yes.
If you don't have an edge.
If you haven't answered question one of what is my edge, you might as well just stop at this point because you need to answer that.
Well, at that point, your bankroll management should be just bet an amount of money that keeps it fun for you where you're not impacting your life. $20 for some people, it might be $1,000 for other people, depending on how much you have and how much you want to bet. But that should just be, hey, I bet $500. That's what I bet. I call it a day. I bet 5 games a week. Exactly. All good.
Yep.
If you've answered question one, now we get onto the bankroll management. I was going to say with you, Rob, so we're not even going to talk here like, oh, don't chase your losses, don't blow your thing. But when betting with an edge, what are the most common bankroll management practices that people get wrong?
I think that they don't adjust their bankroll over time. So, for example, if you start with an X amount in a bankroll and you have a very bad losing streak to start, most bettors actually do the opposite of what they should do. They should actually be scaling back their bet sizes proportionate to what their updated bankroll is, but instead they actually try to win it back, and by doing so, they perpetuate the problem even further, right? And I think maintaining like a rolling bankroll over time is a good way of doing things, right? If you start with, and this is just random numbers, right? You start with 50K as your bankroll and you have a really good winning week or winning month, and now you're up to 60K. Okay, now your percentage, your bets are going to increase a little bit as your bankroll has started to increase. Opposite thing holds true as well. If you have a $50,000 bankroll, you have a shitty month, shitty week, you're down to 35K, 40K. Well, you're not betting the same that you did when you had the 50K bankroll. You have to bet proportionally to it. So to me, that's the biggest mistake that I know that other people make that are smart. They're not adjusting with the waves of betting.
Yeah, I would agree on that. So basically saying if you had a $20,000 bankroll and you lost 2,000, then your bet size has to be diminishing there. You can't, you maybe you were betting 600, that's got to be down to 500, or maybe you're betting 200, that's got to be down to technically 180. And oftentimes I do feel like, yeah, it is hard for people to do that once you've got the taste of starting to bet bigger and bigger amounts. But the way I like to kind of segment this, and what's always helped me, is it's not necessarily about how much you're betting. How big you're betting is not the answer. It's how much money are you making on that given bet, ROI wise, or what's your actual expected value of that bet? So some people, you'll see them, they're betting like a straight bet on the NFL. It might be betting the Kansas City Chiefs, they bet 100,000. You're like, wow, they bet $100,000 on that. They're betting $100,000 and likely have what they consider to be maybe a 1% edge, meaning the expected value when they click that bet is $1,000. I might have a bet where I place something and I might bet it for $6,000 or $5,000. And I say, wow, this is actually a 20% edge. So my 5,000 is returning me the same net money as that $100,000 bet. So when you're looking at the sizing, betting bigger doesn't necessarily mean winning more. It's all about betting bigger and having that edge. So if you're betting the major markets and you're betting down and these major groups, if they're betting $2-3 million a game, they know that their edge is not 4%, 5%, 10%. They know their edge is thin, and they might be, getting that volume size up in order to raise that expected value number to a number that they have to. But if you're just starting out and you have a 20K bankroll, don't worry that your bet size is only $500. Worry about making that $20 a click, $30 a click,
Exactly.
$50 a click. And if you look at it in terms of how much you're making per click, it becomes a lot easier to size down when you're on a bad run, or size up, because it's not like you're betting between 2,000 and 100,000. You're betting, essentially you're making between, let's say, $1 and $50 per click. So now it doesn't seem that crazy to make a click that's worth only $17 when you were used to be clicking to win $22.
Yeah, I think part of it comes with unrealistic expectations a lot of times as well, is people don't see that growth quick enough lots of times, and they'll take things into their own hands to get that growth to be a little bit quicker, right? For some people, like you have a 50K bankroll, expectations for different people for certain people are going to be different, right? And for some, the idea of growing that bankroll, $10,000, 20% of your overall starting bankroll over the course of a few months, that might not be exciting to someone who has 50K to bet with in the early going. They're like, wow, I can just go bigger bets and I would make more money. But the expectations have to be realistic. And I love the way that you think about that, because it's kind of the same way that I think about that when it comes to betting, is like, okay, I've made the click. The line is very likely going to move into this spot. I know that when it moves here, or this is what the true line is at the time that I made the bet, this click was worth X amount of money. And you just keep trying to stack those. But ultimately, you do have to have some sort of strategy in determining your bet sizes and what that's going to be. And there needs to be some sort of consistency there. And when I say consistency, I'm not saying you bet the same amount on every game. I wouldn't say do that. I always use the same example, but it's an easy one to understand. If I'm going to flip a coin, right, and Johnny's going to offer me plus 100, I get to pick heads or tails. Well, I don't have an edge there. That's the 50-50 on a coin flip. But
You'll probably do it for
it because I want to gamble a little bit, right? And me and Johnny got a sheet
at even,
and I got to try to let him win his money back, of course, on the sheet. But if he then offers me plus 110, okay, I'm going to make a bet because it's in my favor. Well, if he says to me now, Rob, I'll give you plus 150, well, I'm going to ask him for a bigger bet because now I have a bigger edge. And the example can go more and more extreme. If he was going to give me plus 400 or something stupid like that, first I'd make sure it wasn't a weighted coin because, you got to make sure it's fair. But I would then take a bigger bet. So you do want to bet according to your sizing. And then I would consider, especially for those in the early going who don't have the best bankroll management principles, some sort of cap at like, this is going to be my max bet where I'm not going too far overboard unless it was an insane edge type of situation. So for me, you figure out how you're going to stake. There's many ways to do this. I don't even think you need to use Kelly criteria, and I think that's overkill for a lot of bettors out there, especially if you identified your edge is reacting to news in real time, well, guess what? You're not going to be able to compute a formula of exactly how much you should bet when Kevin Durant is out for a game and you got to fire immediately. You're just already going to have that prepared. So your bankroll strategy should depend on correlate to how you're betting as well.
And I've mentioned this one before, but the biggest mistake I see actual smart bettors that have an edge making, especially when starting out, is like they don't factor in the long odds into how much they're betting. And especially now with these SGPs and stuff, a couple guys have some edges on same game parlays, 100 to 1, 500 to 1. Like I see a guy will send me a screenshot. He bet something like $500 to win like 600,000. And I'm like, dude, your bankroll is like 100,000. Yeah. You can't be betting $500 on stuff that is, so crazy long odds. Like that bet for your bankroll, depending on the odds, should be sometimes even like $30, $60. Like it's not. You'll really realize it when you have like the long odds of something. If it's like 2,000 to 1, like you can't be betting that much on that. So that's never going to be something you can bet $3,000 on. So that is the one area I've actually seen like successful bettors with an edge who are betting 2,000 a game will fire 600 on a long shot SGP. It's just way too much. Like you cannot be doing that.
Agreed. So step 1, figure out what your edge is. 2, set your bankroll and bet according to that bankroll. Then there's multiple other things we can get into here. We talk about this a million times, and I know that I already can see some of the sharp guys on gambling Twitter being like, why are you even mentioning it again? For one, there's a newer audience here that we have on Circles Off. Appreciate everyone who subscribed to this channel. Push us to 15K subscribers. Hit that subscribe button if you are new here and you haven't subscribed to the channel. But I would ask yourself, are you maximizing the value of every bet that you make? And the easiest way to maximize the value of every bet that you make is line shopping. I know it's a simple concept. I still cannot understand why the vast majority of people, well, I can understand it. It's because the vast majority of people are betting for entertainment. But if you are serious about sports betting, every cent, literally every cent matters. And if you are going to take +3 at -120 instead of -110 because you don't have money in the book that's offering +3 -110, then frankly, you're doing yourself a huge disservice, and you might as well just be betting for entertainment purposes at that point anyways, because that would be a very clear demonstration to any sharp bettor that you're not serious about the game. And I just don't know what else to say other than that it's one of the most crucial aspects to success. Every single great bettor that I know is extremely price sensitive to the point where they will do anything to save even a cent on a game, and that has to be the mentality for anyone.
There's guys out there that will literally make a fake Twitter account, tweet the wrong news to get a half point of value.
Literally.
And those are some of the most successful bettors in the world.
What a pro move that was.
What a pro move. Just an unbelievable
move. Absolute legend. But also, like, there's tools and resources available for this nowadays, right? This isn't 20 years ago Obviously, you had Don Best still, but this isn't back in the day when I was young in university or college. And if I wanted to bet, I actually had to open up every sports book. I couldn't, afford a Don Best.
Computers weren't even that powerful to be opening all those tabs at the time.
It's true. That would be like I only had one monitor at that time. It was like there was no chance I would have had multiple monitors at that time. But literally, there was a time where you had to price compare manually. Like I was going to go place a bet on an NHL game. Okay, I have to log into this site, check it. By the way, you actually had to log in to all these sites to even see their odds as well, and go through one by one. It's not like that anymore. And obviously myself and Johnny are co-owners of Betstamp. It's a very easy, free tool that you can leverage for any sort of line shopping, full game, sides and totals, player props, game props, anything like that. But it's not even that hard nowadays. It's like it's 5 seconds of your process.
If you're watching this and you're not betting big, you want something free, use Betstamp. It's right there. It's free. You have it. If you're looking for, you're a serious bettor who's watching this and wants to win more, buy the Pro. You will not regret buying the Pro. Betstamp Pro. Reach out, contact at betstamp.app. You will not regret buying the Pro. Literally, there is genuinely millions of dollars being made as a community using this tool. Not going to last forever. But if you don't want to pay for anything and you're just starting out, the free app, it's not the best. I'm not going to say it's like the best. There's nothing wrong with it, whatever. But you can go on there and just click around and you can see your price discrepancies amongst books. It's not as easy as the paid screen, and it doesn't guarantee you free money. But for a free product, I do still believe it's the best free product out there.
Yeah, completely agree with you. And it's just simple. It should be part of your betting process, right? Before you're about to place a bet, everything's relative to the market price, right? You like an NFL side or whatever, it should be relative to the price. But let's say you're betting regardless. You want to take the Rams in a game, you just open up, find who has the best price on the Rams, go bet it at that book. And some people might say, well, that's a lot of work. I got to deposit into multiple books. That's what it takes in sports betting. I mean, it makes a big difference. I honestly, it's painful for me when people post, we do this all the time, me and Johnny privately. I'm not going to call people out in public for this, but like Johnny will send me a winning parlay that somebody posted and be like, dude, like, look at this. What do you notice? I'm like, the guy should have got paid an extra $1,000 on this parlay. Literally
for small money. Like, sometimes it's like this guy literally left $180,000 on the table.
Yeah, listen, you celebrate whenever you're going to win in sports betting, but if you could have won a lot more money, you'd obviously want that opportunity. And in the similar vein, if you could have lost less when you lose a bet, why wouldn't you want to do that? So it's sure a little bit of extra work up front to diversify, be able to get money into different sports books and things of that nature. But at the end of the day, if price sensitivity is not a concept that is for you, then don't bet with the intent of making money. That's all I can really say.
Yeah. Another funny thing is, like, sometimes I'll send Rob a screenshot or he'll send me one and we'll be like, I don't even know how he got like +6.5. Like, I didn't even know that was ever even available. Like, it should have been at least like +8.5, 9.5. Like, not for football, for basketball, something like that. I'll be like, when was it even 6.5? Like, so yeah, people definitely are costing themselves a lot of money on wins. One cool thing here that I don't normally say is, you gotta kind of, if you want to really win betting, you kind of gotta not care what you bet on. It's very important to not care what you bet on. Meaning, you might be a Vikings fan, okay? But if you log on to the account and you find an edge on the Packers playing the Vikings, then that's what you gotta bet. There's no, oh no, I'm not gonna bet this because they're playing my home team. If you're really in this to make money, then you don't really care who you're betting on. You don't care what it is. The money is green if you're betting on the Chargers. It's green if you're betting on the Vikings, and it's red if you're betting on the Packers and the Seahawks with those at those prices. So you make the call, but it kind of doesn't matter about what your favorite team is or who you want to win or who you think you're going to win. You're betting the numbers, not the teams. Meaning you don't really get a choice. Whatever's there is there. You don't make the call.
Yep.
If you're going to go in with that mentality, you're going to win a lot more money than also saying, hey, I want to bet the Seahawks. Let me go find the best price on the Seahawks. It's just night and day difference. And I think the casual bettor not understanding that one thing is what's costing him more. Because at the end of the day, you don't even really need to line shop every book at the same time and have every single book open. So I'll give you one example. Is like, let's say you only have an account right now. You only want one book. You only have enough money to put in one book. You only want to bet on Bet365. You got to just find all of the edges on Bet365.
Yeah.
You can't now be like, oh, I want to bet the Seahawks, but they're a better price on Pinnacle and this, so I'm not going to bet them. I'm going to bet them or I'm not going to bet them. You have to just then be like, okay, I have Bet365. Let me see what's good on the menu at Bet365. What's good value here today? And if you can pick off that good value at that one specific sportsbook that you have, you don't get to choose. It might be darts. That's good value. You don't even want to watch it. But if that's the value, that's the value.
Rule at the sportsbook that they have, like their Bet365 is an early payout sportsbook, right? If a team goes up X amount in NBA, MLB, NHL, and it's auto payout. So, you know, when you're betting an underdog potentially on the money line, you might want to bet it there because if your team takes a 3-goal lead, you're going to get paid out even if the other team comes back. It's like little nuances within each book that you're going to look to capitalize on.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to say though is people get discouraged like, oh, well, I'm not going to open up 13 books. That is the way to do it. Yes, you definitely need to do that if you want to win long term, you want to win a lot of money. But if you just have one book, you can still win, but then you have to just play the best stuff at that book. And to Rob's point about the shopping is if you're going to play something and it's not the best price in market, well, you can't really afford to be doing that at the level that you're at the beginning stages. You can't afford to be taking something at minus 111 when another book has that exact same play at minus 106. Like that is not something you can afford to do at the lower levels. You really have to be grinding out every single thing you can get. So that's kind of another thing where when it comes to line shopping, people often say like, you need to open up every book, put money in every one and be like an exact thing. You don't even need that. Just whatever one you have, just get the best plays on that book. Simply put. And by the way, the Betstamp Pro does that. You can sort by book. Let's say you just have a FanDuel account. You just have a Pinnacle account. You just sort by that and it'll show you the edges at that book. So now you don't have to worry about having like 20 open. Maybe you have 3 books. Maybe you have 1. Maybe you have 6. Whatever you have, it'll show you that. But you definitely need to be making sure that you're not picking your own plays without actually looking at the numbers.
Speaking of looking at the numbers, I think a big thing, one of the first episodes we ever did, it was in the first 10, was sports betting myths. As actually one of my favorite episodes. It still holds up, even if you go back and listen to it.
I got to go back and listen to it.
Yeah, we did 5 myths each at that time. Still a good listen if anyone wants to go check it out on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. One of our first episodes that we ever did. But one important question to ask yourself is what flawed thinking is holding you back from being a good sports bettor? And I think people need to focus on data and logic and less so narratives and gut feelings. So for your example, Johnny, of just like using an odds screen, it's understanding this is how the market works. This is how I can benefit from that. And you use an odds screen to do so. I can't tell you how many times I hear the dumbest shit on a daily basis of like, well, you know what? I'm an underdog bettor and the favorites are coming through in the NFL this year. It's like, well, you could just be a favorite bettor then.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
You know, if underdogs were winning over a long period of time, why would the market never correct to that? It will, is the real answer, right? If like there's an edge that exists over a longer period of time, eventually the market is going to correct to that type of situation. So things of that nature are not viable strategies in the long run of like, oh, I focus mainly on underdogs. I only bet this. I only bet that. That's not going to get you anywhere.
I also don't like the fact that people look at the games and they let the result of the game dictate whether it was a good bet or not the actual pricing that they got pregame. So they'll look at something and be like, oh, yeah, sure, I had the Cowboys and they lost, but like they almost won. And like if this guy didn't fumble it, they would have won. Like that doesn't make it a good or bad bet. What makes it a good or bad bet is you had 2.5 closed, you had minus 2.5, closed -3. Juiced, you had a good price relative to the market. As soon as the game starts, bang, you're done. Your work is done. You got a great price. Now that bet over 1 million sample size is going to win. So if you're going to talk and say like, oh, well, if this guy didn't fumble it, I'd be up on the year. As soon as you start talking about that, you've already lost. You're done.
Well, to your point, sample size matters, right? And I think a lot of people can get hung up on, you might make 5 bets on an NFL weekend. Let's take this past weekend in the NFL, for example. You might have bet Arizona -4. They closed -6 and they lost they didn't cover. You might have bet the 49ers as a pick'em. They closed 2-point favorites against Miami. They lose. They didn't cover. There's a lot of examples in the last week of NFL where sides got steamed and they didn't cover. And you might, in a vacuum, say, what the fuck? I got great numbers and I lost. But you got to take a step back and say, well, this was 4 games, 5 games. It's an insignificant sample size. And if you keep doing this over a long period of time, the efficient market hypothesis, you're going to win out. At the end of the day, you keep getting good numbers, you're eventually going to win out over a longer period of time. So strive for that. Obviously, you can use secondary metrics as well. We've had many guests on Circles Off here talk about that. I like to do that for my NHL betting. I track what price I bet at, what the game closed at, but then also I use the expected goals from the game to derive a probability that my bet should have won as well.
That's in originating. In originating, it's more important to actually see how the game's played out. But if you're just like market reading, you're just going after the pricing. Yep. Don't feel like you got slighted because, Jokic hit a thing and it sent it to overtime, and then now you lost the under because it went to OT. Like, sure, you did get a bit unlucky, but at the same time, like, you got the price. That's what's going to determine whether your bet's a winner or not. Not the way the game plays out is, I would even say it go as far as to say, if you don't watch the game at all, you had no idea, and you only were just exposed to the final score and the results. Meaning, if a game ended, an NBA game, you had under, 220, 1.5, and it landed 260. It may have gone to overtime, and maybe you lost in overtime. Or maybe you lost in double overtime, right? But whatever happens. You lost in double OT. If you just get the box score of like, hey, it doesn't even say OT, not, it just shows, okay, I lost, I had under 221.5 and it landed 260, you're done. You can then just evaluate that and say, but I did have a good price. Next time I'll probably win this bet. It was a good thing. I'm not doing anything wrong. There we go. If you're going to go and with that mentality, you'll win. If you're going to watch all the games and then start adjusting your next games based on, but this guy played good, it ain't it. It's going to be very, very hard for you to continually win. Again, this is for numbers-based bettors who are doing that top-down approach or maybe a news-based approach. If you're originating, then maybe there's something in the game that you're creating in your model that you might actually need to be watching for and adjusting. So in that scenario, sure. But in the top-down approach, I see too many people like getting good prices and then complaining that the bets didn't go their way, when in reality, like, the money was made when you made the click, not at the end of the game.
Yep. Finally, I think for 2025, do your best to leverage tools and resources that can help you. I will share a personal story about me, but I was a losing bettor for a long period of time who thought that I was a winning bettor. There were several people in an online community called Seville who used to roast me on Twitter, basically call me an idiot. I would dismiss pretty much everything that they were saying because there was some hostility involved. And then after a couple more years, I was able to be very real with myself and say, you know what? I'm not winning. Maybe I should start listening to the advice that I'm getting from other people. And I started to absorb as much information as possible from people that I consider to be sharp within the betting community. To this day, I still listen to Bet the Process with Rufus, because Rufus might, in a way, Rufus likes to talk about himself. Let me just put it that way. He might reveal something that's a little bit maybe too revealing in a sense, where I can pick up from that and I might learn from that. I try to absorb as much information and listen to as much content from other people that I know to be sharp as possible, because there's all these little tidbits that you might pick up. And in addition to that, whenever I hear of new resources that are available out there that might help me in any way, I'm always quick to look at them as well. For some people out there, that might be Betstamp, it might be Unabated, it might be whatever it is that's out there. But you can check out these things that will make your life a lot easier. And in a lot of cases, these things are free to use. There's bankroll management apps that are out there. There's bet tracking software that you can download and create your own Excel sheets, or you can leverage the Betstamp tools. There's all this stuff out there that's actually available to you that can help you learn, that people are just focused on the wrong stuff a lot of times. They're listening to the podcasts that are spouting off, Thanksgiving Day trends for the NFL, which are not going to help you in any way. You have to define your own process and you have to be able to learn yourself. You're not going to just be able to rely on listening to content that's out there and winning forever. That's not going to happen. So that type of stuff, there's resources in the form of books. Logic of Sports Betting obviously is like a good starting point for anyone. Matt Davidow and Ed Miller. There's, we had Andrew Mack on last week again. He wrote introductory modeling in Excel and R. You can leverage stuff like that. But there is stuff that exists out there that you can leverage if you look hard enough. And don't be dismissive of things that other people in the sharper community are saying,
I think oftentimes people, they don't really know like kind of where to get started in a lot of these things. And I understand it's daunting, but really the one thing I'd focus on for 2025, if you're in that area, is like know where you stand. Like figure out right now, if you're listening to this podcast, if someone might have told you to listen to this to get started, figure out where you stand. Do you have an edge? Yes, no. Are you just betting DGen for fun? If so, yes, let's go a different way. If not, let me figure out what is my edge? What do I got? Quantify that. Bankroll management. Go through the list and then start to take it seriously, or at a minimum, just understand, hey, I don't actually take this seriously. It's okay. I'm not going to beat anything. Yep. I'm just betting for fun. Here you go. So I think the main thing when people are getting started is, don't worry about all this stuff. Don't worry about everything right now. I know it's a lot. Oh, I got to do this. I got to do this. I got to buy these tools. I got to get this. I have to listen to this guy. I got to listen to all these podcasts. The starting point is just figure out where you are right now. Are you winning currently? Do you have an edge currently? And don't say, oh yeah, I'm up so far, $6,000. But really you just hit an $8,000 parlay and then lost 900 bets for $1 each. That you're sure you may be up monetarily, but you're down bad.
You got to be real with yourself. Realistic expectations are important, right? That at the end of the day, hey, listen, if you've made it this far into the pod for this week, I would suspect you're committed to learning. And that is important. We have lots of old episodes here, whether that's guests, educational content, Q&As that you can listen back to. One of my biggest sources of pride in doing this podcast is the DMs I get from people on Twitter who are like, I found you 3 months ago, I binged every single episode, and now I'm winning at betting. Or now I understand. Or I don't do this anymore because I realize that it's worthless. You have to commit to learning more. And eventually, if you are serious about success, you have to treat your betting like it's a business in a way. And if you don't want to do that, that's fine. That's a different type of bettor. But commit to learning more, treat betting like a business, and kind of go through these steps that we've laid out today. Know what your edge is, manage your bankroll, shop the best lines, avoid falling into like the stupid pitfalls and traps. I say traps, maybe the wrong choice of word, because I'm not talking about the traps that the books are laying out for you. Use resources wisely. All of that stuff seems very high level, but it absolutely will contribute to success in one way or another.
And I have a final piece of advice in regards to this whole segment is, if you are betting and you start off with a little bit of money, okay, it is actually imperative that you do not take that money out of your bankroll, okay? Because we see too many times people will, make 50,000 and then put 20,000 to go like put a down payment for a car or something like that. And just, if you're taking this seriously, I would strongly, strongly recommend leaving all of the money you make into your bankroll, because that's the way you're going to actually grow faster. And taking, when you get from 25K to 100K, taking 75K out and going back to 25K is costing you so much money. That 75K that you took out is stunting your growth to potentially be able to run from 100,000 up to 1 million. It's completely stunting your growth. So what you really need to do, and I know people have, sometimes living expenses and things like that, but if you want to be serious about this, especially in the starting stages, until you've gotten to, let's say, a bankroll of, I'm not even going to name a number, but until you are no longer constrained by bankroll management, and instead you are constrained by how much the sportsbook will let you bet, you should not be taking any amount of money out of your bankroll. And those who know will understand what I'm saying. Yep. And those who don't, there's an even better reason. Do not take any money out of your bankroll until you literally cannot bet enough, because you want to bet more, but the book's saying, nah, no more. You can only bet this. Once you get to that point, then sure, feel free to start spending some money, maybe, buy some luxury stuff and enjoy. But until you get to that point, it's imperative to not be taking out 25K, 50K, 70K, buying all these things. It really does stunt you tenfold.
2025 can be your year. I say that in all sincerity. Success in betting is easy if you make it easy. And if you want to bet for fun, that's totally fine. But if you're disciplined, you put the effort in, you listen to smart people in the space, you will have success. So best of luck in 2025. My DMs on Twitter are always open, at Rob Pizzola. I try to respond to every single one. You can message me at any single time. I also read every single comment that comes through on this channel, for better or for worse. Maybe I should stop. But seriously, if you have any questions, we like to incorporate them into Q&A episodes. I do answer them as well. Anything that's there, we're more than happy to answer. Speaking of 2025, Circles Off is going to undergo some changes for the new year. We are off next week. We'll be back with some fresh episodes at the beginning of 2025. One thing that we've done for a long time now is a weekly episode of Circle Back and Circles Off. That kind of has been the schedule. We're going to get away from that in 2025. I do want to let people know that. You're accustomed to this episode dropping every Thursday, 4 p.m. Eastern time. We're not going to go that route in the new year. There are plenty of reasons that I've chosen to go this way, but I don't get breaks during the year, if I'm being completely candid, and it can be challenging sometimes. So there's going to be months where we drop a lot of episodes. There's going to be sometimes 2 or 3 weeks where we don't drop an episode. I'm still committed to putting out the best content possible here on Circles Off, but I do want it to still feel fresh for me. And like if we have 2 guests that can go back-to-back days and we can get 2 interviews out in short succession, we're going to do it instead of holding on to this stuff so that we have to release it at certain times. So 2025, a little bit different. Circle Back is going to remain the same. We're having a lot of success with that show. I do enjoy doing it, as do the rest of our cast. Seems like we're getting really good feedback. YouTube metrics are great. Listening metrics are great. Going to lean heavily into that. You're also going to probably see some different lifestyle content coming up in the spring and summer here on Circles Off as well. More on that ahead, but also announcement from Johnny.
Quick announcement from me, guys. So Rob and I started this podcast, I think it's been almost 3 years. So we did the first one at the Brady Bucks Super Bowl winner. Right before that was our first episode.
That was the first one.
I believe so.
Yeah.
So a while back. So we started this with the intention to basically create authentic and original content in the space, which we didn't feel existed at the time. I vividly recall me sending Rob a PowerPoint deck outlining all of the content in the space and how, for lack of a better word, it was all, dated and weren't doing this and weren't doing this. And we put together a plan that would hopefully revolutionize the content in the sharp betting space. So it was something that when we grew this podcast, we're extremely proud of what this is right now. Yeah, this is an amazing channel. We have had a lot of copycats, a lot of people who now are, putting up similar channels or trying to do educational content. And we're super happy that we were able to lead the way on that. And we definitely wanted it to also be something that could be listened to every week, any week. You don't have to have just the whole, week 2 picks. And then after that, it's kind of garbage. So you can actually go back, and I'm really proud of this. You can listen to every single episode that's currently on the YouTube, Spotify, anywhere you listen. And you should be able to get at least a few pieces of value in every single episode, no matter when it was released, dating back to our first one over, almost 3 years ago. So it's been an incredible past few years, but also a bit of an announcement here. It's time for me to step away from the pod as a permanent co-host here. So it's a tough call, and I actually appreciate and respect every single person. All the friendships I've made over the years from this podcast, it's been amazing. I've built so many relationships just from being on here and being alongside Rob. Legitimately, there has been actually hundreds of instances where people have either messaged me or seen me in person and told me that this podcast has actually changed their life for the better. And when I say hundreds, I actually mean hundreds of times this has happened. So it's insane what we've been able to build. I will be I will be back. It's not like I'm, gone forever. I'm sure I'll be, in and around here, a episode of Circle Back, some watch along, stuff like that. But it's not going to be as consistent as it has been in the past, obviously. So everyone obviously in good hands with Rob here. I do want to give credit to everybody who has ever watched this show, liked, subscribed, shared it with a friend, left us a comment, shared us kind words, or even shared a hate comment. It's all good. I want to say thank you for being a part of it. Producer Zach, he's not actually here, but he stepped away as well. But was amazing working with him, and he made the audio and video quality so much better than what it was. He really did step up the show. Producer Jacob, he's already actually better than Zach because he's actually updating that show since Rob said he's actually updating that. Zach just left it at zero. So I'm sure Jacob will be a great producer. And of course, Robbie Pizzola, my good buddy. I have to say, genuinely, thanks for everything you've taught me, not just from this podcast, but even before then. It is crazy to think about, but I don't actually know what my life would look like if I never met you years ago. It would definitely be a lot worse than it is now. But I don't even know what I would be doing. I may not even be betting. I might not be in the betting space. I may not have all that. It's crazy. I owe a lot to Rob. He is one of the best in the biz. I would even say, as far as when it comes to sports betting content, and I'll timestamp this just in case someone better comes along in the future. Entering 2025, there is actually nobody better in the sports betting content game than Rob Pizzola. And I mean that genuinely, because he doesn't just, a lot of the guys that you listen to, and I mean this with full sincerity, they don't walk the walk. They talk the talk, and it's nice and whatever, but Rob is actually a genuinely good bettor. He's a sharp guy. You give him an account, he'll find all these edges. He'll figure out how to win. He does win a lot. He's won for a number of years. He's doing the content stuff because he enjoys it. And quite frankly, he obviously enjoys it a lot more than guys like me or some of the others in the space. And that's why he does this. But he doesn't need to be doing this. He does this in addition to being one of the top bettors in the world, not so he can supplement his income and make another, couple grand here and there. And obviously, Rob, you guys are in good hands with him. He's carried the show, and you guys are in good hands with whoever is going to be on here as a co-host. Is going to be just a mere formality, as you have Rob Pizzola, the A1. I do want to come back for sure for the episode and hang up the 100K subs plaque when we get that.
It will be here one day.
When we do get that, I will come back and hang it just as we started the channel. I got to be here to hang that up for sure.
Yeah, I think we'll get some comments about favorite Johnny memories, but certainly the Johnny versus Fezzik episode has to be up there.
My masterpiece.
As
that was my masterclass, everybody.
Yeah, that was your masterclass. There you go. Masterclass.com/Rob Pizzola. No pressure, by the way, if you ever want to check it out. But if you're interested in sports betting, you can check that out. Yeah, it was a pleasure doing the show with you. Obviously, I think some people know the writing's been on the wall a little bit with you being in and out. There's going to be a few changes to Circles Off. I may retire the closing question that we asked the guests at some point and change that up a little bit. Plus EV, minus EV is going to stick around, though.
Good.
And we might as well go out on a plus EV, minus EV for this week.
Oh, I don't even have a great one.
Mine are definitely not good either, but it's not about, nothing can be worse than the frozen
I'll say
grapes,
my
right?
last one, but it's not going to be my last one because it's just, I'm just, temporarily leaving for a bit, and I'm sure I'll be back in a couple episodes or for a couple episodes in the future. But I'll do I guess I have one that I've been meaning to say for a while. All right. This is to everyone who's probably younger than me out there listening. This is going to be a very controversial one, okay? So you have to take it the right way here. Diversification is actually for morons, okay? You don't want to diversify when you're young. It is the opposite of what you want to do. If you found something good, you made money in sports betting, you've made a lot of money, you have a good edge, you got to double, triple, quadruple, quintuple down on that one thing. Make that your thing. Make that your identity. Go all in and be the best in the world. If you start to say, I made a bit of money from sports betting, I'm going to take $100,000 and buy a house and put a down payment for a house. That way I have that house for whatever happens. What you're essentially doing is not believing in yourself. And I understand about having a backup plan and all this stuff, but if you really are the man, if you are the nuts and you're the guy, you go all in on yourself. None of this investing. Oh, I'm going to put some money in the stock market. I'm going to put some money in crypto. I'm going to put some money in this. I'm going to put some money in housing, and then I'm going to have a diversified life, and I'm going to be set for life. That doesn't exist. You double down. The best investment is in yourself. If you find success in something, you go all in to that one thing, make it your identity, and win. And try to. You may not accomplish it. Try to be the best person in the entire world at that exact thing. And it is controversial advice. I know a lot of people. That's my plus EV move of the year.
You gave out the credit card one once. There's nothing more controversial than that.
Then what?
The credit card advice of using the credit cards to get like a little bit of extra bonus money for betting. They're like specific gambling credit.
No, it wasn't that. It wasn't the gambling cards. I just said use like ARB credit card bonuses.
Oh,
it's
yeah,
like
yeah,
just
yeah,
a good way.
Yeah,
you know, you should be signing up every couple months, get a new one, get the 5% cash back. Then it goes down to 1, get the new card. But anyways, I said that's only if you're younger and trying to grind on a couple extra bucks.
I
don't support those gambling credit card ones.
Yeah.
But this is my plus EV move of the year. And the reason I say it is because at this current moment in my life, that's something that I feel like, I could have done a lot better when I was younger, maybe 20, 22, 24. And I do wish I can go back and change a lot of the aspects of life that I made and some mistakes that I made in that exact thing. But the one thing when I really look back at like the last 10 years of my life, and if I could go back 5 years and talk to a previous version of myself, that is 100% what I would say. I would say, fuck everything else that anybody tells you. You're the man. You go in 100%, all in, triple down, quadruple down, quintuple down until you're the best in the world at whatever it is you want to be. And that's advice that, I'm living my life by right now. But, had I had that when I was 20, 25, I think it would have been life changing for me at that time. So that's my plus EV move of the year. And hopefully it goes out with a bang there.
All right, it's a holiday season. Hope for those who celebrate, you had a Merry Christmas yesterday. For me, plus EV move is regularly calling your parents, your grandparents, or other older relatives just to check in and see what's going on. We talk about ROI in betting a lot. I believe in something that I call the emotional ROI, but strengthening your relationships with people around you and, establishing and having those meaningful connections goes a long way. Also, these people have, especially if they're older, have a lot more wisdom than you do. And I'm pretty arrogant and cocky sometimes, but I'll admit that I don't know it all. And sometimes just talking to other family members about things, you get valuable perspectives that you just don't have. People who've lived through similar experiences to you. So, just do it. I think it's great to check in with other people. It's good for your own personal sanity from the emotional ROI perspective, and you get another perspective from other people as well. On the minus EV end, I just moved. This is kind of like a dig at my wife, so I don't really want to say it too loud. But minus EV move, buying cheap tools or appliances to save money. Just don't do it. First of all, it's a higher long-term cost anyways, because the shit breaks down quicker. It doesn't function the way that you need to. It causes a lot of stress. There's like a frustration tax associated with buying like really shitty stuff. It's not me by nature. Listen, to each their own. Sometimes you buy what you can afford. I totally get that. But a reliable, well-made appliance or tool can improve your life so much more than you ever know. Like, you don't think about the little things of, and this is just random, by the way, of like going to your fridge every day and using the water dispenser that's on it and it works properly, or the ice machine just works and you want a drink and you don't have some frozen grapes in the freezer, you want to throw a couple ice cubes in, you throw them in, the ice dispenser works. All that, cheap alternatives, they just don't match. So that's my minus EV of the week. For some, you buy within your limits, just like you bet within your limits. But if you can afford to, get something that is going to make you happy and not cause you long-term stress.
Hey, that's not bad advice. It's not bad advice. I can't stand stuff breaking and me having to fix it. As you know, right now I'm a renter. I don't own the home that I live in, and the reason for that is just...
Well, you don't want to take out of your bankroll.
Well, no, but no, in general, the main reason is this is I guess another plus EV move I've always believed in is like, you don't have to own the home that you live in. There's a lot of benefits to doing that, but there's also a lot of drawbacks. If you rent the home you live in, there's a lot of benefits. Obviously you then you can't just like say, oh, I'm going to rent a home and then go, blow all your money at the club and stuff. It's better to save as an alternative if you're going to do nothing with that money. But in general, if you rent your home, like, everything's covered in terms of like, maintenance, stuff like that. If something breaks, you are able to kind of get everything fixed without having to dip out of pocket or without even having to just deal with it. So I'm more of a renter now, but it's also mainly because I enjoy the flexibility. It might be here for a year and then somewhere else and in a year after that and yada, yada, yada. And I don't have to really do it. But when I do eventually own the home I live in, you best believe I'm taking that advice, especially with the small things. I don't want it's too much hassle to have stuff breaking all the time. I'd rather just do it good once and avoid a lot of the repairs down the road.
Yeah, listen, you got to get like an extra toaster that has 4 slots instead of 2, and it's going to cost you like another $40. But you can put 4 slices of bread there instead of having to pop in 2 and then wait another few minutes for. Just spend the $40 and get the 4 toast. You know what I'm getting at? Like, there's these little things. You just think it through from your own perspective. By the way, that's not the real life example. I'm just doing
it's actually unbelievably how cheap certain things are, and like where you look at it and you're like, oh, this has to be bad quality. Like, this thing can't be $6.99. Yeah. This can't be $8.
And you could still price shop too. Like, if you have something and you're like, wow, I'd really like to get that, wait for it to go on sale, wait for Boxing Day in Canada, Black Friday, whatever. You can still price shop and things of that nature. Just because it's cheap doesn't mean it's bad, but avoid cheap.
I bought a blender once on Boxing Day for like $19.99. And obviously within the first year, the blade fell off while I was making a shake. And to which I said, this was only $20. So sure. I deserve this.
But then you had to go out and get another blender.
I never got another blender.
That's it.
That was it. That was the last shake I ever made. See,
it's disappointing.
No, that's literally me. I'm like, I don't even need that now. I don't even need that blender. Yeah. So yeah, it is what it is. We're off the rails here. Jacob, you got a plus EV, minus EV?
Yeah, my plus EV move of the week, kind of hearing Rob talk about his late Christmas shopping. I think Christmas shopping should be done on Black Friday. Your entire Christmas shopping list should be prepared in advance and done on Black Friday. Number one, you don't have to worry about it again.
Yeah.
For the rest of the month, for any of December. Number two, you get better prices by doing it in at Black Friday.
Or you could just play an 8-game parlay and do a printout and send out to everyone and say they got a piece of the parlay.
Yeah, that's actually a good for like a friend's Christmas gift.
Yeah, it's I come around on that a lot.
Listen, I don't mind. Also, I'm now the guy for Christmas. I don't, for like little cousins and stuff, cash. It just
I don't like
$50, $100 in the envelope. It's all done, all good.
They could get whatever they want.
I agree. If someone's like 8 years old, you want to get them a gift. But if they're like 15, cash. They're gonna actually appreciate that more, anyways. Plus, saves the work. I don't mind being that guy. I can be the guy who gives out just an envelope with a thing in it. And definitely, as we mentioned before, don't get someone a shitty gift card with Christmas coming up. Don't get them a gift card to a shitty place that they don't want to shop at. Get them cash. You're not saving any money. We brought this up before. Stop getting shitty gift cards.
It's true. Just give them cash if you're going to get a shitty gift card. At least they have the option of where they're going to spend.
Cash is better than a gift card.
Yeah,
but
come on.
Dude, some gift cards are technically as good as cash. I'll give you that. Some of them you receive, like, all right, I will use this year. That's okay. But you cannot be getting guys gift cards, bro, to these places that they're not going to shop at.
The only, like, what would be, other than like a coffee shop, what would be an example of a gift card that somebody's like definitely going to just carry around at all times and use at all times?
Okay, Amazon, Uber, you load those into your account, you'll use them. Okay, obviously, maybe you don't use $1,000 in Uber, but you might use $100
gift and Beyond.
Yeah,
gift card,
enough with those. Like, serious. Yeah. Like, do not. I'll tell you what to not get. Don't get someone a Subway gift card. All right, I know they got the deal. I'll buy a sub, get the gift card. I don't want that.
That makes it worse because they only got that gift because they
don't get somebody a Subway gift card The one I used to get when I was a kid that used to drive me insane. When I used to get an HMV gift card.
Oh,
you guys remember what that was?
HMV, yeah, compact discs, man. I used to be at HMV every day.
You can get CDs.
Yeah.
I wasn't even a big music guy. I was right on the end of when CDs were even a thing. I think I might have been carrying around a $50 HMV gift card for 3 years without spending it.
That would have been a great gift for me back in the day. When I moved recently, I purged a lot. I brought almost nothing with me. I refuse to throw out my CDs.
That's fair.
Those are part of your life. CDs that I just cannot part with, no matter what. I will never listen to them again, ever. I don't even own a compact disc player anymore. I literally can't.
No, you can't throw those out. Those are part of your life.
They are. Every time I see them, they actually just bring me joy in some way.
That makes it worth having.
Yeah, just seeing them. But that was the only thing I couldn't get rid of.
I have old video games that I will certainly never play, but I love those things.
Yeah. I also could not part with my Sega Genesis.
My old consoles, they're at my parents' house. My dad's like, "What are you doing with your Xbox 360?" I'm like, "You cannot get rid of that. I don't know what I'm gonna do with it, but one day I'll fire it up again."
I'm not throwing out my Xbox, my regular Xbox, That thing. You know how many games I logged on that?
You never got red ringed?
No, I still have it in it.
Was there even a ring on the?
Yeah, on the little thing.
I got red ringed and I never got it fixed. I just gave up on.
I'm still well. Who knows? It might not even work. I haven't played it in years.
And we sent it in and it got fixed.
Yeah, I know it would, but like when I finally got red ringed on the original Xbox, it was years after.
Oh, it was time to move on.
So I was like, you know what?
It's done.
I think that's it. I think this is a sign at that.
Fair
point.
enough.
Yeah.
I have so many games that I will certainly never play again. Like, what are the chances I ever toss NHL 06 with Vinny LeCavalier on the cover into my regular Xbox and play it on wired controller? There's just no way I
have the exact same one.
But that's just like that's part of my childhood. I can't throw that game.
You can't. Sometimes you can. I got my NHL 97 Sega cartridge with John Van Beesbrook.
There you go. That was a legendary.
Yeah, I can't get rid of it. I'll never play it again. But I can't.
You know, I think there was a time I used to memorize. I used to know who was on the cover for every NHL, but then now like the past
just turned into a blur at some point.
The past 8 years, I just didn't follow because I stopped getting the games. But I could name like every guy. Like you could name a year, and I would tell you try one. Give me one.
I can't verify.
Name a year. Name a year.
Any NHL?
Back in the day, I don't want like
04.
04 that was actually a very tricky one. So 04 started off with Danny Heatley on the cover.
Heater.
But then he got in that accident.
Oh, it was bad.
He got in that accident, and then they replaced it, and then they put on Joe Sakic.
That is correct.
Yes. Wow. I even gave him an accidental curveball, and he still got it.
Accidental curveball. Yeah, Danny the Heat Dog. Wow. But then they put on Joe Sakic. But yeah, I used to know all the covers,
too.
man.
That's a nice one.
Yeah, that is a good one.
Minus CV move of the week is... I think in general, dieting around Christmas is just so minus EV. It's like 1 week of the year. Don't go to like Christmas dinner and say, I can't have dessert or I can only have one plate. Like, listen, 1 week is not going to change your life. Enjoy yourself. Enjoy the memories. Like you mentioned, like calling parents, calling family and stuff like that. Like these are like really good memories that you have once a year. So just go and enjoy yourself. Don't worry about all that stuff at this time of year. Don't be a nuisance to anybody else. Or, if you seriously have to, don't make it a topic at dinner either that you're not having this because of diet.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Don't make it awkward.
Don't be on some health kick, and if you really have to be, don't make it anybody else's business.
Yeah, try it. Try like a little bit of the tiramisu. Be like, a smaller piece. I'm kind of full, but give it a go.
1 day's not going to ruin your health kick or whatever it is. Enjoy your week.
I like that. Yeah, don't be the guy telling your in-laws to put the Chiefs-Steelers game on in the background during Christmas lunch like me. Don't be that guy.
Yeah. Are we closing off here?
We are.
All right, I want to leave everybody with one thing.
Sure.
2024, if it wasn't your year, that's all good. You're going to get back. You're going to get all the money back in 2025 if you actually work at it and grind it out. Don't expect things to change unless you're actually changing. But if you do, best of luck to everybody. If anyone needs to contact me, you can do it through Betstamp DMs, Circles Off DMs. Send us an email. I'm sure it'll find its way to me. Thank you, everyone, for the love and support, and peace.